to the May 21st, 2024 business meeting. Before we start our regular meeting at 7 p.m., we will enter into a code of conduct hearing that is required by state law. But first, everyone stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Tonight we are joined by 5 of our board members, our Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Timothy Harney, our Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum, Mr. Robert Haas, our Assistant Superintendent of Finance and Operations, Mr. Louis Frontera, our District Legal Counsel, Mr. Edwin McCarthy, our District Clerk, Ms. Suzanne Benetti, and our Student Representative, Ms. Alexandra Vlachos. There are 2 opportunities for community participation before the board takes up its agenda and after disposition of all agenda items. Non-district residents will require a majority vote by the Board of Education if they wish to make a statement. Time allotted for each speaker should not exceed 3 minutes. All meetings will be live streamed thereafter to the district website, and please follow us on social media through X, Instagram, and Facebook. Can I please have a motion to enter into the public hearing? Ms. Cerrone, seconded by Mr. Krug. All in favor? Any opposed? No abstentions? Motion carries. I would like to welcome Mr. Zarcona up for our 2024-25 Code of Conduct hearing.
Yeah, that's right. So just to set it up a little bit, as Mr. Johnson had alluded to, through the Project Save legislation, each year districts review their code of conduct. And in there usually is a 30-day hearing period. So we do a presentation, and the goal is then to adopt or make any changes prior to the code of conduct for our reorg meeting. So then, because the code of conduct has to be readopted every single year. It does not really look like we have changes this year. We've had minor ones in the past. But with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Zarconi so he can just kind of walk us through this quick for everybody.
All right, thank you, Dr. Harney. So I want to start tonight by discussing the purpose of this presentation. It's to review and discuss the requirements for a code of conduct, the public hearing, the revision process, and any proposed amendments to the code. What is the school code of conduct? It's a set of principles, expectations, and/or rules that are given to students and parents or guardians or those in a parental relationship to make sure that the expectations that the school has for behavior is clearly communicated to them. As far as the revision process goes, the district-wide Project Save Committee takes a look at all of our codes of conduct at all of the buildings, as well as this code, the plain language version, and we come up for any revisions that we wish to bring forward. I am the chair of that. We do meet on a monthly basis and have various stakeholders in the district that sit on and serve on that committee. We do go through our district's legal counsel to make sure that we're meeting any regulations that are changed due to the state law. We make sure that we meet the NYSCD amendments for school regulations. I worked with our assistant superintendent, Mr. Haas, for curriculum and instruction to go through this presentation tonight. There is an opportunity for public comment, which will start this evening and proceed for 30 days moving forward. And then eventually there'll be adoption by the Board of Education. So as Dr. Harney had mentioned, we had made some changes over the years, some things more than others, but just to run you through the key components. The school code of conduct and discipline, which needs to be included, and this explains the Board of Education's belief that reasonable behavior in a school setting shall be. It spells out what that shall be. It speaks to student rights. And this spells out, for instance, students' right to a free and public education with a safe and supported educational environment. It discusses the students' responsibilities, discusses how they are to conduct themselves in the school setting. Identification of essential partners. It states expectations for basically everyone in the community that interacts with the schools. So that goes from parents or persons in parental relationship to teachers, staff, administrators, community, and the like. The dress code. The dress code we reworked pretty heavily last year, but that speaks basically to appropriate dress in the school setting. Prohibited student conduct. Speak to those actions or conduct that is frowned upon in the school setting. Reporting of violations. It spells out to whom violations of this code can be reported to. Directory information on Dignity Act coordinators. This is covered under the DASA through New York State NYSCD. It requires us to list the names and contact information for any of those people that are DACs within their building, Dignity Act coordinators. To continue, disciplinary penalties, procedures, and referrals. This covers any discipline imposed from a verbal warning all the way up into a suspension from school. Student suspensions from class or activities is an example of one of those things that could result as, become a result from a student's behavior. Minimum periods of suspension. As you know, the building level principal can suspend up to 5 days. Superintendent, based upon what has occurred, could choose to have a hearing and suspend for a longer period of time. But there are certain minimums. For instance, bringing a firearm to school carries a 180-day suspension from school. Unfortunately, we don't have any of those. Disciplinary and remedial action, consequences for bullying, harassment, and discrimination. They're all covered under the DASA regulation. Referrals to outside agencies, whether it be the courts, CPS, DASH, or the Suffolk County PD. These are all agencies that school can utilize with assistance with any incidents dealing with our students. Student searches and interrogations. This spells out the procedures that are to be followed legally. Visitors to the school. These are procedures that are followed by the general public as they make their way onto our campuses. Public conduct on school property. This speaks to acceptable behavior for the community at large who utilizes our facilities. And I think Dr. Harney had mentioned that there are no proposed changes at this time. There was nothing from the Project Save Committee. There was nothing from legal as well. There's an opportunity for public comment, which I mentioned. I don't think I need to read all that, but there must be at least one public hearing. There could be more if you require that, but this must sit in a 30-day read period before it gets acted upon by the Board of Ed.
I guess just one of the things I would ask either Mrs. Arcone or Mr. Haas maybe is, obviously within the code of conduct we have to list certain discipline, but there are many other things that we do as a district that maybe we could just share to give people a little bit of an overview in terms of meeting with families, meeting with students, re-entries, those type of things that we had a presentation earlier in the year that we shared a lot of those things, so maybe we can just share some of that so that the board knows that we are continuing to do that as well.
Yeah, so anytime we do have an incident that occurs or a situation that occurs with students, as Dr. Harney just stated, there are so many other steps that are taken within our normal practices or our typical procedures within the school, from meetings with the families, meetings with the students, getting the guidance counselors and the support staff involved with the student, possibly making referrals to outside agencies within those specific times. But then also when the student, if it is from something that is a suspension, when the student does return to school, having meetings with that family, with that student, with any appropriate staff that may be at that time, to help that student readjust back into school so that they feel comfortable coming back into school as well. After all, these are children, and we all make mistakes, and our number one priority is that they learn from the mistakes and that they are able to move forward and be successful and ultimately feel comfortable in school as well.
Anyone in the community, any community members have any questions specifically for this presentation? You can come up now. Not hearing anyone. Any questions from the trustees regarding?
Just out of curiosity, I know we've spoken about the restorative practices. Where does that fall in the code of conduct, or is that more of an SEL thing with the district? Which avenue is that going down?
So within the code of conduct, when you look at some of those things in terms of meetings with parents, meetings with students, a lot of those practices, while it doesn't use the term restorative practices within our own code of conduct, they are included within it. So that is one thing that we do, and as we had with the presentation earlier in the year, over the past few years at the building levels, there has been a big shift in terms of just how we handle different situations, and again, getting the support staff involved, getting the families involved. Also, with regards to this specifically in the restorative practices, with the transition that we have that's taking place within administration in both buildings, at the secondary level, it is something that we wanted to bring them, as we talked about it, bring them into the fold, into that conversation as to anything specific that they may have and ideas that they have for the buildings as well.
I also think, oops, sorry about that, to add to that, one of the things we started, and I would say the answer to your question is probably both when you were asking the question, because we've done things through SEL as well. And I think I may have shared this at one point, is like, so for example, for a number of months this year, we were doing which I would call like sentence starters, or questions that were passed on through the entire staff, where they could have questions, whether it be about the beginning of the school year, being welcoming, whatever it may be. So we've started to do that as well. So we're usually picking a theme a month. Towards right now, we have not had as many, but early on in the year, we spent sharing that information.
Dr. Harney, if I can just add, if you look at page 26, it does outline in our policy many of things that are aligned with restorative practices, although we don't mention it using the terminology and language that represents the tenets of restorative practices, but it does speak to those remedial type of things. So if you want to look at that page specifically, you're welcome.
Anything else? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Arconi. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
That concludes our code of conduct hearing. Can I have a motion to return to the business meeting? Ms. Saron, Ms. Pignataro, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. At this time, I'd like to open the business meeting to community old and new business. Nothing? Okay, I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Harney for the superintendent's report.
Thank you very much, Mr. Johnson. Just a couple of quick updates. I'm sure Allie will have a number for you as well. Obviously, we've had the concert season is in full bloom, where just this past Monday we've had one of the Pops concerts, and then tomorrow night is the second part of that, which are really, I believe some of our older students are tomorrow night, if I'm correct, right? So we'll have that. The middle school musical. Tickets are now available. That will be happening on May 31st and June 1st. So, get your tickets there. Just a reminder also that we are closed on this Friday and Monday for Memorial Day, and we were back on Tuesday, so people are aware of that. And then obviously, we've had also a very successful spring season where both baseball has moved on, softball had moved on. Unfortunately, they had a tough one today, but congratulations to them because they have had a tremendous season. They really have. Baseball, again, will play tomorrow night in the playoffs, and then you have the county finals for both boys and girls lacrosse. One is Thursday night and one is Friday, so good luck to them as well. And again, it's not just about how well they're doing, it's also the way they carry themselves. And actually, boys tennis was out there today as well, and they had won, or they were winning when I had left there. So hopefully for them as well. So it's been a very successful spring all around. And if you were able to come on Saturday, we had the CB's art show, which was tremendous. Hopefully you were able to come to see all the students work. It really was impressive and a lot of fun to see. So thank you to them as well. I think that's it.
Thank you, Dr. Harney. I'd like to turn it over to the meeting to Ms. Falachos for the student representative report.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. I have Blue Point. Thank you to the Blue Point Fire Department for hosting BPE's first Family Fun Day on Saturday. It was a great turnout and a lot of fun for our families. Second, BPE's Student Council is hosting a jelly drive after a student visited Angels of Long Island and was told that they had plenty of peanut butter but not enough jelly for their food pantry. BPE will be collecting jelly from May 22nd to June 7th. At Academy Street, we are wrapping up kindergarten screenings this week and look forward to having our incoming kindergarten students next school year. Today was Academy's Bike to School Day. This was great timing since we just had AAA in for bike safety assembly. Also, it's no homework night tonight to give families that extra bit of time to spend together. Our 5th grade students wrote a play and performed it for the whole school today. They wrote the play, cast it, directed it with very little adult intervention. They even put together the set with a group of students as the stage crew. It was a wonderful success. Thank you to Mrs. Whitney and Mrs. Celentano for the support. Finally, for Academy Street, Thursday afternoon is Academy's first annual Friends of Carly, it's Academy's annual Friends of Carly Fun Run in honor and memory of Carly Lestrange. Our 3rd through 5th grade students head over to the high school to participate in the run, and our K to 2 students cheer them on. At Sylvan had an amazing law enforcement officer parade recognition with a special K through 9 presentation from Mrs. Gayer's husband, Brendan Gayer. We had several officers here. Students made thank you cards. Our PTA provided breakfast, and we ended up with 11 vehicles to participate in the parade. Sylvan Field Day is this Wednesday. A special Flag Day ceremony is planned for June 14th, and grade 5 graduation is 9:30 on June 24th in our Sylvan cafeteria. Lastly, for Sylvan, Mr. Scardinio's time as principal is drawing to a close. He wanted to thank Dr. Harney, the Board of Education, Bayport community, and the entire staff here in Bayport as well as those great Sylvan Star students at Sylvan for a wonderful experience this year filled with learning. At the middle school, the only thing I have is that the middle school musical is coming up May 31st and June 1st. And at the high school, get ready. The Unified Basketball enjoyed a terrific first season. The team celebrated Senior Day by recognizing Sully Miller, Maya Miguel, Logan Wampole, and Jacob Slager. Cooper Fuller and Taylor Space were inducted into the National Technical Honor Society at the Eastern Long Island Academy of Applied Technology. Taylor DiBiase is the recipient of the Suffolk High School Principal's Leadership Award. Baseball, softball, boys and girls lacrosse, tennis, golf, and track are all competing in the Suffolk County playoffs. Please come out and support our Phantoms. Our talented musicians are performing in the Pops concert and Jazz Night. Jazz Night is next Wednesday. It's for like jazz choir and jazz band. Our talented musicians will be there. Mrs. Angela O'Leary, school nurse, presented Kendall Woolley with a nursing scholarship awarded by the Suffolk County Association for School Nurses. Our 9th graders enjoyed a great Adventureland day on Friday. Our students took their AP exams for the last 2 weeks, and now they are preparing for regions and finals. And after school prep classes will continue until June 13th. Phantom Fest is next Tuesday, May 28th. Decision Day is Wednesday, May 29th, and Art Signing Day, the National Honor Society induction, and the Senior Boat Cruise will take place on Thursday, May 30th. On that same day, Dr. Harney and the Suffolk County Superintendents will host the valedictorians from each school district at a luncheon. George Rose will join Dr. Harney as BBP's valedictorian. That is all. Thank you.
Thank you, Allie. This is Allie's last meeting in official capacity, but lucky for us, she's going to come back July 2nd so we can give her an official send-off. But we do appreciate all your work, and what a lot of people don't know is I've seen her around a lot, because every time there's an event somewhere at the elementary or the middle school or any other event, she's usually volunteering at it. It just speaks a wide range of the type of multifaceted student and young adult you are. So thank you very much for everything you do. At this time, we'll have Mr. Zarcone up again for a safety briefing.
Thank you, ladies, for coming. So this is our annual district-wide safety plan review. So the purpose of this presentation is to review and discuss the requirements for a school safety plan, conduct a public hearing, discuss the revision process, and give you any proposed amendments to the plan. So the requirements for a school safety plan. The overall structure has not changed as previously approved by NYSCD. It contains an introduction. It establishes the purpose, mission, and goals, identified district-wide safety team, and overall operations, and addresses the review and public comment process. It must contain risk reduction and prevention and intervention. This is where we have strategies including training, drills, exercises, hazard identification, early detection, response, and agency assistance. And the agency assistance could be Bayport Blue Point Fire Department, both of those agencies. We have community ambulance and also Suffolk County PD and the Sheriff's Office. There's operational guidance that includes the incident command structure, which we are trained in, and the overall response actions that take place within it. You must have the organization and assignment of responsibilities. This delineates any responsibility from the board down to each building. And then you also must have a requirement of recovery, which discuss full implementation of normal operations after an event. In terms of the review process, this, just like the Code of Conduct, does go through the district-wide Project SAVE Committee. It is governed by the NYSCD amendments of school regulations. We take input from our building level emergency response teams, which do meet on a monthly basis and do have representation on the district-wide committee. We consulted with our school safety consultant, which is Michael Griffin. We need to have an opportunity for public comment, so that's why we're here tonight. And then eventually Board of Education adoption. So unlike the code, there are some proposed amendments to the school safety plan. The specific updates, there will be pertinent changes to the team roles and responsibilities. Obviously, we have some staff changing over. So in the document that comes to you for final approval, we'll have all of their names and contact information in there and to bring us up to date to July 1 of 2024. New state requirements beginning in the 24-25 school year. This includes the addition of bus drivers and monitors to the district-wide safety committee, which we currently do not have, so I will seek to get representation. It discusses that drills and training be conducted in a trauma-informed and developmentally age-appropriate manner. So what does that mean? That's actually using the state language. Everyone sees trauma-informed. If we're discussing the first lockdown drill, the discussion is going to look a lot different for your kindergartners than it would for, let's say, a 10th grade class. The drills and training are not to include props, actors, simulations, or other tactics intended to mimic a school shooting, incident of violence, or other emergency, and students and staff should be informed when a school is conducting a drill. So it should be clear to all inhabitants of the building at that time that we are conducting a drill. Again, there's an opportunity for public comment. So there must be at least one hearing before adoption. And any questions or suggestions are welcome.
Any public comment? Trustee comments?
I just have one question. The plan refers to use of the RAVE app. About how many staff members at this time have access to the RAVE app?
The administration and all of the BLERT team members in each of the building, and anyone else that volunteered to be on it. So I would say roughly 60 people.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Zarcone. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, thank you.
Are there any items the board would like to move from the consent to the regular agenda? Nothing? Can I get a motion to approve consent agenda items I, J, K, L, M, and N? Ms. Conley? Ms. Pignataro? All in favor? Opposed? No abstentions? Motion carries. Moving on to the regular agenda. Can I get a motion to accept a generous cash donation of $5,000 from the Suffolk Transportation Services for the Bayport Blue Point High School General Scholarship Fund? Ms. Cerrone, second by Ms. Conley. All in favor? Opposed? No abstentions? Motion carries. The district greatly appreciates this donation. On a side note, the original donation was increased from $1,000 to $5,000 to recognize the past year's championships in the following varsity sports: softball, football, girls lacrosse, and girls tennis. Congratulations, and thank you to Suffolk Transportation. Can I get a motion to accept another donation for $50 from the Jane Latin Auxiliary VFW Post 2913 for the purchase of books in the James Wilson Young Library? Ms. Cerrone, second by Ms. Conley. All in favor? Opposed? No abstentions? Motion carries. And once again, the district also appreciates this donation as well. Can I get a motion to approve the first readings of policies 0110 sexual harassment, 0110.2 sexual harassment policy for employees, 1925 interpreters for hearing impaired parents, 8505 school food service program, 8520 free and reduced priced food services, and 9420 recruiting and hiring. Ms. Cerrone? Ms. Pignataro? And sorry, one more, 0100 mission statement. We talked about 9420.
95.
Oh, and 9520. It's Ms. Cerrone again, Ms. Pignataro. Motion, unless anybody opposes, motion carries. Okay, this is the final chance for any community members to come up for any new business.
As you saw on the agenda tonight, which the Board of Ed approved, I would just like to congratulate Ms. Westerlin, who's with us tonight, who will be serving as the middle school principal next year, so congratulations to her. Looking forward to working with her. So that's it. Thanks.
Trustees?
So I had a page full of congratulatory things, but between Dr. Harney and Allie, most of it's covered. But I just wanted to say that I had the opportunity to attend senior night of the BBP Unified basketball team. And their season is now over for this year, but get yourself to a game next year because it's just a night filled with joy. It's co-ed, multi-abled, everybody cheers for each other, both teams. There's just so much cooperation, and it'll do your heart some good. So get there next year. I also wanted to congratulate our student musicians who were adjudicated at NISMA 2 weeks ago and thank their music teachers for helping them prepare. And also we've spent the last few weeks celebrating the wonderful BBP staff at all of our buildings and finishing up with Staff Appreciation Day at the high school tomorrow. So we thank you for all that you do for our students and our community every day, more than we'll ever know, I'm sure. And we hope that you enjoyed your celebrations. And one last big congratulations to Allie on attending Berkeley School of Music. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, and I would like to request a motion to adjourn the business meeting and reconvene at the high school gymnasium at 9 p.m. to accept the results of the budget vote and election. Ms. Pignataro? Seconded by Ms. Connie. All in favor? Thank you. Have a good night.